Public Board of Trustees. And we begin with public comment. As a reminder, no person shall be permitted to speak unless they have entered their full name and city of residence on the provided sign-in sheet. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Groups representing a consistent viewpoint are strongly encouraged to select one spokesperson. And written or oral testimony can be submitted in advance for future meetings. So today we have Coeur Claridge to give public testimony. Public comment.
Oh, it might be muted. Yeah.
Hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, many of you know that our legislature is in session now in Idaho. And there's been a couple different library bills that have been introduced and are moving through. They go back and forth, but the one that was up last week, I believe it was House Bill 384, and it was called the Children and Library Protection Act. And I watched a couple hours worth of testimony and was signed up to give remote testimony, but was not called on. So I thought, well, I'll read my testimony to you guys. This is what I would have said. Good morning, Chairman Crane and Committee. My name is Coeur Claridge and I support House Bill 384. I live in Coeur d'Alene, District 4 with my family. I have 5 kids and I've used the libraries with them for years. Over the last few years, I have observed a decline in quality books for them in the children's library, but as they've gotten older, it's taken a dramatic, nauseating turn in the teen section to the point where we now primarily put specific books on hold to pick up. It's too risky just to wander around looking, which maybe sounds dramatic, but why would I want them exposed to suicide, rape, witchcraft, graphic depictions of sex acts, and obscene materials, which are always prominently displayed at eye level? This is in your library. I have given periodic public comment to the Coeur d'Alene Library Board, which is appointed by the City Council and Mayor, for over 2 years now, and am largely dismissed for my concerns. As our Kootenai County Sheriff brought up recently, these materials are so offensive that if it wasn't for the exemption in place for libraries, it would be a crime to distribute these kinds of materials to minors. So in my opinion, giving parents some kind of recourse to sue the institution, and it's not suing librarians personally, it's the institution, that is what the language is, for damages is appropriate to help curb the inflow of this disgusting material. Using existing laws which describe the limitations for what's available to minors is not book banning or censorship as is often shouted, and it's not limiting free speech or the flow of ideas. Parents usually assume that areas marked children or teens is going to be safe, and right now my experience is it's anything but that. I think this bill will go a long way in putting healthy boundaries back in place. Thank you for your time and God bless you all. Which is what I would have said, and maybe I'll get a chance as it moves through the Senate to say as much. There was a lot of people speaking of the same sentiment that I was. There was people on the other side as well. And just my opinion is you're very vulnerable right now in the materials that you have present for minors, and that there will be a day of reckoning, whether it's something I do. I don't want to sue any libraries, but at some point it's going to happen where there is a moment where it's going to kind of come to a reckoning. So I would just encourage you to really consider these things that are being said and take action before you're forced to take action in some undesirable way. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Claridge. There are no further public comment sign-ins, so we will move to our consent calendar. I will entertain a motion regarding that.
Move we accept it as presented. I second it. And I do have one comment about that came in, is that several patrons were saying they wanted certain books purchased for the library. Could you review quickly the process of reviewing a book and what requirements we have?
Okay. So there's a number of things we look at. Melissa could probably speak to this a lot
Mhm.
better, but she can fill in the detail. So we look at the policy first and foremost. So things so just in terms of purchase requests.
Mhm.
Okay, so we look to see if our primary vendor has the item. We prefer our primary vendor because we do get a heavy discount through them. So it's good savings for taxpayers if we use them. Our secondary vendor, our primary is Baker and Taylor. Our secondary is Amazon. We sometimes turn to Amazon, but it's if we really feel we need the item and our primary vendor does not have it. So we're looking at our policy, we're looking at our vendor availability. What else are we looking at? Many other things, reviews, like information about the items. Are there reviews online? And it doesn't have to be publications that are what we call professional journals looking at the items. It can also be major publications that are reviewing the books, New York Times, for example, other newspapers. We sometimes look at things like Goodreads, which has user reviews. We sometimes look at the Amazon user reviews. So we're just trying to make an informed decision about that item as best we can. What am I missing?
Budget?
Right, I mean, budget
Right.
is obviously a consideration too. And then for Amazon, we do try to really make sure that if we're purchasing something from Amazon, it's coming directly from Amazon, it's fulfilled by them, because we've had issues in the past with like third-party vendors. So that didn't used to be the case, but that is one tiny detail there. But yeah, and I mean, if it's a popular, even if we can't find it, as Michael said, in a professional journal, if it's something that's getting a lot of attention in the media and we've had several requests for it, it's something that we may purchase as well. I hope that helps answer.
It does. I noticed that there were several patron comments about books they wanted to have in the library, so I just wanted to clarify the process.
Any other questions or comments regarding things within the consent calendar? Then all those in favor of approving the consent calendar as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent calendar is approved as presented. Now Michael's director's report.
So I'll start, it's not in the director's report, but I will start by saying we have been very busy over the last few days, particularly. It's noticeably more busy since Post Falls Library had to close due to water damage, extensive water damage. So the word is that they're going to be out for a matter of months dealing with this. It's extensive damage to the library. And they have been informing their patrons that they can go to Hayden Library, they can come to us, they can go to any other library, Rathdown, Libby Lake in some cases, to have services. So we have seen an influx of new people coming in who are getting used to our library and need a bit of direction, a little more help than usual. But so far, it's pretty smooth sailing. We're managing to cope with the influx. And yeah, it's going fairly well.
The parking lot is packed.
Well, that's one noticeable side effect. Yes, the parking lot is at capacity often. The lower level art project, which I've been talking about for what feels like years now, is progressing. So the Arts Commission has adopted it and they are running it through their call to artists process. So right now it's being advertised through their channels and it closes at the end of February and we're waiting on responses there, applications. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later because the next step is to form a selection committee to go through the applicants and select who we feel would be the best fit for the assignment. The lighting project is underway. So to remind you, our building maintenance team at the city, they found that Avista has a very good rebate program for location facilities that are looking to upgrade to LED lighting. it's a big project, about $80,000 worth, but the rebates through Avista would make it worthwhile. It would pretty much cover the entire project. So that we finally found a contractor, and that's been happening throughout the library. You can probably notice they've done some work here in the community room. The brighter white lights are the new LEDs. The sort of warmer lighting is the old fluorescent. So it's been a big job, step by step. They're going through the library, changing out the ballasts and then putting in the new bulbs. But I'm pretty sure they're close to finishing. Some more community library network news. The Bookmobile service, they have a van that delivers books to facilities around town, mainly assisted living. They also have their larger, what do they call it? Discovery bus, which has a bunch of STEM programming and other activities on board. And they go to locations with that as well. Both of those vehicles are out of commission right now. They're coming to the end of their service life, if you like. So they're in the shop. It's a little uncertain as to what's going to happen next. But one thing for sure is that the district has decided that they will now only be going to district locations within their boundaries. They did have 18 locations within Coeur d'Alene that they were going to. So they will cease going to those locations. So it's fallen to us to see what we can do, how we can fill that gap. And the outreach team has been taking queries from a lot of these assisted living places and just seeing what we can do. So we have a books to you service, which is a homebound delivery service. It was underutilized, I would say. We only had maybe a couple of regular patrons, but the procedure is in place. We have that to offer to these facilities. So we're in the process of working that out, seeing what the limits are, because we don't have a van, we don't have a bookmobile. We're using a library truck. We're just seeing what the limits are for us and what we can do for those facilities. And then just some staffing updates. There's been quite a bit of movement lately with the part-time positions. So we had Mary Ortman went over to NIC. She got a job there, a full-time position. And Laurel Hoffman has moved into our part-time reference outreach role. So that opened up a couple of vacancies and we have filled those. So that's in the circulation team, part-time library clerks. And we've got Mary and Sage have joined the team. That's it, unless there's any questions.
I wanted to make a comment on the printed staff reports we received about how Angela mentioned that we often have some of the highest participation in the Idaho Teen Reading Challenge, and that she has been working on presenting her ideas to other librarians and how we can get that sort of participation in other libraries around the state. And I commend her for that. That was fantastic. Anything else with the report? Okay. Then we'll move on. Do we have anything to report as a student representative?
Not much. It's been pretty slow for start of school and winter, very cold. I'm reading a ton of books right now. I try not to have over 20 books checked out at once, but I think I have 22 right now. So I'm trying to keep up with all my reading habits. And the teen library program started up again last week. We had quite a few people for both of the ones that I went to, so I'm excited for that to keep up.
Fantastic. Thanks so much.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, absolutely.
What is your average number of participants, would you say?
For our art club on Thursdays, I'd say we usually have about 3 teens that intentionally come and 1 or 2 that are in there that just kind of get sucked in and start doing some art. And then for esports or Gamers Guild on Fridays, it really depends on the day. Sometimes it's just me. Last week, I think we had like a good 5 or 6 people. which is pretty good. And then we had some join us online too, so. Yeah, good. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Friends of the Library report.
Friends met yesterday, their first meeting in a couple of months. They decided that shred day, to backtrack, every day they offer a shred day event. So they hire a truck, shredding truck, and it parks in the parking lot. We have people drive on through and dump their unwanted documents in the truck and get them shredded. But unfortunately, the last couple of years, the participation has really been about 100 participants each time the last couple of years. It used to get hundreds, like a lot more participation, and it costs a lot. It's about $900 to hire the truck. So they kind of looked at the numbers and decided maybe this year they will not offer a shred day, and not canceling it ongoing, just see what the response is and see if the demand picks up, and maybe it could come back next year. But this year, 2024, they will not be holding a shred day event. And then they looked at their annual 2023 earnings. And so they earned through the bookstore and their other fundraising activities, $13,249.54. And they spent $10,760.63 on the library. So like most years, what they bring in, they're throwing back at the library, which is just, testament to their great support of what we do. And that's it.
Thank you. Holly, can you please report on the Library Foundation?
Very successful sing-along in December, promoting the new Hawaii book. Had over 200 people kind of crammed it.
I think it was 400, wasn't it?
Is it 400?
Yeah, it was 400.
I was there.
I was thinking of the like capacity was 200. That's right. So yeah, it was very successful.
Very.
Kiddos all the time. Pretty books. So that was a very fun thing. Lots of singing and happy little kiddos. And then we had a request the press to do an article for that as well. So that was with the crowd, with the crowd, which worked out well. How successful that was. Unfortunately, both of December's board meeting was canceled because everybody was sick. And in January, I canceled it last week because it was on Wednesday when all the snow was something. I didn't want to go home at 5 o'clock in the snow. So we're waiting for February to be able to view our budget, and I'm in the midst of looking at grants, but I'll pay without my budget. I am looking for a grant for a bookmobile truck for us. I'm not sure. It's kind of wandering around and finding something, but we'll see what we do. Anne and Susan are going to go to the first time in Post Fall schools. Is it next week? Or did you already do it? It's next week. Okay. First time in Post Fall School District. Having Susan and Anne. Mention Millie, I think you're giving away. Who's book,
I think it's called.
yeah. So that'll be exciting for the Post Falls District now to start getting the books and Susan and Ann doing their presentation. I think that's very fun to be able to move that out into the I'm not just in Cleveland. So that's great.
Which keeps Susan very busy.
As if she doesn't have anything else to do. Right. Yes, she stays busy. And I don't know if she's got anything planned for the next school in Post Falls or not.
That was a request from them.
Right.
And so I think she would.
I just wait to see if there's, yeah. Okay, so I'm looking at grants and doing a little synopsis of what we need to make for the year. And I was working on the one reading program this afternoon and didn't know if I had shared with you this board about what we do. I started it with a $5,000 grant in 2022 from the Laura Moore Foundation. We give these bags to newborn babies and their parents. So we include a letter from the foundation congratulating, kind of letting them know the library is such a good place to be, including a library card registration, babies need more than words, handout, grandparents, give your grandkids a gift of literacy and all kinds of things you can do as a grandparent. And then we give them a free book. So it all goes home with them as they leave the hospital, and they're overwhelmingly happy little parents. And 170 bags go out every month. 170, yeah, so new babies are. So the outreach does, the majority of them, Shar delivers them to the hospital. And I try to help the bags then if I can, but we pay for, the goodies that go in, including the bags. So the good thing is, even though Michael wasn't very happy with me, I had to order these bags, and I order enough for a year's worth. So I ordered.
Just a year? There's a lot of boxes.
I know. So I ordered them and, they said I'd have it in a week and they never showed up. So I asked, okay, I never got my delivery, where it is. They couldn't find it. So they made my shipment again. And then they found out that the first ones were never scanned as they left the facility. So they finally found them and sent them to me. And then they said, well, do you want these for half price? And I said, of course. So now we have 2 years worth of.
Oh, that's why Michael is not happy. Yeah.
Sorry, but Google Hollywood, I let that go away.
I'm not sure taxpayers would like it if we said we wanted money to expand Area 51.
Probably not. I think that's all I have.
I have a question. When you and Susan are going to schools, is that something in partnership with the library or is that an independent Susan?
It's the foundations, the
Yeah,
foundation.
we pay for the
Yeah.
books to be handed out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Susan and Ann do all the work.
Yeah.
Yeah, very big, huge boxes of
Yeah.
books. So they do a presentation on the screen.
And Susan donates the profits from anything that's sold back to the library.
Right. Yeah. And then do you take the calendar of all the events and the cool things that the library's hosting? So maybe kids can take that home to their parents to.
Well, that's a great suggestion.
I think I have still
That's a
encountered
great
many
thing.
people who are surprised when they find out all the things that kids could do here and
Huh.
for after school, and there's especially with the post-fall school being closed, they might not be familiar with all the programs here.
Okay, I'll get together with JD. That's a great suggestion.
Yeah, our printing costs are,
Oh,
I'm just, we'll see. I'm sure we can manage it one way or the other.
Well, we'll go back to the.
Yeah, or Allegra is really good about giving us some reduced all the projects that I do. That might be something they might use or another grant.
Mhm.
I always am looking for new ideas for grants. So if anybody ever has any suggestions.
or the school sends out newsletters and maybe the school could just
Could
put that in
put
their
it in their
electronic, yeah,
newsletter.
just a reminder on their s'mores. I think it's called their s'more newsletter or something like that.
Yeah, we
Put
have
out.
tried that in the
Oh.
past. But maybe with a little more weight behind it.
Yeah.
Now that Susan's going to the schools,
Yes,
like it
great
makes more
place.
sense, yeah.
Yeah, we were just there and here's what's happening.
Yeah.
Thank you, Holly. All right, we are moving on to our unfinished business with the election of officers. I'll ask Michael to share what Steve wrote in his report as the committee to find officers.
Yes, so Steve couldn't make it today, but he did send through his findings. He volunteered to be the committee for the election of officers. So he recommended that Jim remain as board chair and that Anne remain as board vice chair.
Since Anne is currently the vice chair, I will pass the gavel to her to do the election of president, and then we'll do the election of vice president after that.
Okay. Well, Jim Windisch has been nominated for the chairman. And are there any other nominations from the floor? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote.
Aye.
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 Thank you. Anne has been nominated as our vice president of the board. Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, all those in favor of electing Anne to be vice chair of the board, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Anne has been reelected as vice chair of the board.
I think we still need a motion to, then you package it all together. So a motion to
Okay.
Accept.
elect or accept or approve the election of Jim and Anne.
Okay, so then, I guess I can.
I
do
so
that.
move.
Okay. There a second?
Second.
So, all those in favor of, me continuing as board chair and Anne as vice chair, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We will continue with the same officers for another term. On to our new business. We have update to the internet access policy. Is there a motion regarding that?
I move we accepted the change as amended to the policy.
I second it.
Michael, could you please share with us the information about it?
Yes. So one very small change was as you know, every time we look at a policy for review, there's a number of factors with this one. It is required by Idaho code that we have an internet access policy. And a big component of that is that the internet access is filtered for obscene materials, pornography, harmful materials to minors. So I'm pretty sure this is in the statute that it should be reviewed every 3 years, just to make sure that things are up to date and current. And whenever we look at a new policy, I run through it, pick out any edits, and then I send it over to the city legal department and they come back with any recommendations. So the only recommendation that we have from the city legal department is under section B, legal requirements, the last couple of sentences. Randy Adams, city attorney, felt that they were unnecessary. And that's because in his eyes, the statute does not require a guarantee, but it also does not seem to allow for ineffective software. And I think these were probably crafted way back in 2012 when this policy first came into action. And we were a little uncertain about filtering the software, how effective is it going to be? But we've had it for many years now, and it has proved to be very effective. So again, there's really no reason to be stating what is the intent of the last two sentences. So Randy did recommend that we remove those from the policy. And other than that, I think I made a small change to some wording here and there, added in wireless internet connection, because originally it was wired internet connection was what we had to filter. And then they updated the statute. It was around 2020, maybe it was a little earlier, to include wireless. So that includes our Wi-Fi network and our mobile hotspots that we lend. Yeah, those are the only changes recommended.
Out of curiosity, what company or service does the filtering for?
I should know.
Okay.
It might be a question. I could bring that back next time. I'd have to ask Christopher. It depends. And it might even be the city IT department who's ultimately responsible and using software. I'll have to research that.
That's what it was, city
Yeah.
IT.
Okay.
We do know our mobile hotspots are through the T-Mobile network, and they do the filtering for us. But again, I'm not quite sure how they do that exactly. So I'll research that and get back to you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or discussion regarding this? Then all those in favor of approving the updated internet access policy, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The internet access policy is updated as presented. Next under new business is a trustee volunteer to serve on the lower level art project selection committee. And I believe we need more information before we can make a motion on this one.
Yes, so as I was explaining earlier, the Arts Commission is running the call to artists through February. Once that concludes, and assuming we have applicants, there's going to be a small committee formed to run through the applicants and decide which one is the best fit for the project. The committee is still in a state of flux, but we know it's going to be the donor, Paul Fleschner. It's going to be Kevin Cole from Architects West, the original architects of the building. The Arts Commission have declined. Typically, they don't have a arts commissioner on any of these committees. Neither can staff participate. So that rules out myself and Charlie Howard, our youth services librarian. So we were thinking someone from the foundation would be a nice option, and a library trustee. Or as many people as we can find.
Right.
And this is to do what? To select art for this area out here?
So downstairs, to recap this entire project. So Paul Fleschner, the donor, donated $20,000 with the vision of better advertising the presence of the Children's Library Parkside.
Okay.
So we're taking the opportunity to add maybe some sculptural reliefs on the wall, directly above where the Children's Library is. The inspiration is fig pickles. You notice outside on Sherman Ave, they have their hanging down from their awning, our circus animals, I believe. Something like that, something fun, whimsical, appeals to kids, and really draws attention to the fact that the Children's Library is right there underneath it. So that's the scope of the project, basically.
And that's on that blank wall, basically, that's
Yeah.
above the window.
Yeah, that's right. Potentially the brick, but preferably the blank. I think it's
It's
some kind of
cement,
stone. Yeah.
like cement, but maybe it's a stone.
And there's 3 sections, right? Up
Right.
above the windows. You'll see.
And do you have an idea of what the time commitment, would it be a single meeting or what? Do you imagine?
Hopefully, I imagine it would be a single meeting. I'm not expecting we'll get a ton of applicants, but who knows, could surprise me. And so you'll be judging prior work by the artist, any information they give towards this project, maybe they have some sketches, and then working with the donor and Kevin Cole and maybe a foundation person to figure out who's the best fit for this project. Yeah, hopefully it's done in one meeting and that's it. We move on. Once we select an artist, we draw up a contract with the artist, which is issued by the Arts Commission. City Legal also has input into that. And then it's away. It's there's a timeline for how long they have to create the art and install it.
Well, it went through another artist earlier and it was way too expensive. So are these artists given a budget, basically?
Yeah, so the donor Paul Fleschner has committed 20,000 to the project. We are advertising as 18. We're holding back 2,000 for incidentals. So we're advertising as an $18,000 project. Paul has indicated as he's very keen on this project, so he has indicated there might be more money to come, but we'll take it step by step, see what the artists can come up with and whether they can fit the parameters of this particular project as written.
Would it also be appropriate if there's interest to include one of our student representatives?
That's a
as
good
well?
idea, actually. Are you keen to be on the committee, Isla?
It sounds like a really fun project. I would help with ideas and passing.
It wouldn't
Yeah.
be until March.
Yeah.
that it would happen.
And it would be reviewing the applications from artists and see which appears to be the best.
That would be a great idea.
And then are there any the trustees that are especially interested in doing it?
I would be happy to volunteer, but I'm very new to this, so
That doesn't make a difference.
This is kind of, this particular thing is new to everybody. It's nothing we've really done before.
Great. Yeah, I told Michael that's. You were asking, I heard you asking. Oh, extra.
did I say that?
Yeah. The last week, right?
Then I will entertain a motion regarding Melissa representing the Board of Trustees on this committee. Then,
Yeah.
yes, so would that, we need to approve that as well, or?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
She's on it. She's
Okay.
already decided.
You mean we don't need a motion?
No, you need them. Well, I don't know. I listed it as an action item,
Right.
but I don't really know if it has to be. I'm just,
Okay,
when I'm in doubt, I put action item. So I don't really know if it has to be.
We better have a motion and vote.
yeah,
just in
because
case
I would think
we're not sure.
Melissa, should she be representing the Board of Trustees as a whole? So I would think,
She is, I guess.
then I guess, yeah.
She is acting in her capacity as a trustee.
Then,
That's right.
then we would need a motion for this.
I so moved. I second.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Then all those in favor of having Melissa Carper Bell represent the Board of Trustees on this committee to select artwork, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries and Melissa will be representing us on that committee. Okay. We also have a legislative update on under new business.
Yes, so originally we were thinking Randy Adams, city attorney, would join us if there was anything really happening to gauge his opinion, legal opinion, and ask any questions. The news is a little stagnant at the moment. House Bill 384 has been sent back to the State Affairs Committee in the House. The word is that the sponsor, Representative Crane, is working with another representative who's interested in this topic, Representative Schroeder, on another bill that represents both of their viewpoints on the topic. They're also apparently working with the Idaho Library Association or at least have reached out to them for input into the bill. As of today, I don't think there's been any updates on that. It's not on any upcoming schedule, so it's wait and see for us at the moment.
So if a bill were presented and we wanted to have a special meeting, can you remind me of what we would need to do to notice for a special meeting?
So special meetings require, I think it's 48 hours notice to the public. So if we are ready to get together for a special meeting, it would be 2 days in advance notice. And then we would also probably try to rope in Randy, see what his schedule's doing. And then, of course, consult with all of you to see if we can make a quorum at least.
I personally would be very interested in staying on top of this. And if there is a bill that is moving forward, getting advice from Randy if possible and
Yeah.
speaking.
And
as a-
Randy's happy to help.
Yeah.
He's watching this pretty closely.
Any other discussion regarding the legislative update? Then do we have any further new business? Seeing none. Our next regular scheduled meeting is February 28th at 4 p.m. Right back here in the library community room. And I think we don't need a motion to adjourn, so herefore adjourn the January regular Board of Trustees meeting for the Coeur d'Alene Public Library. Thank you.